What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo, Uber, Lyft driver, and gig economy news. Sponsored by Curry.com. I'm your host, SJ. Let's get it on.
Well, midnight headlight, blinding on a rainy night, steep grade up ahead, slow me down and making no time. I gotta keep it rolling. Those are windshield wipers slapping out the tempo, break the rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep it rolling. Ooh, I'm driving my life away. Looking for a better way for me.
What are you all doing here again? I mean, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing here again? Second time in a week again. What am I doing? Bonus episodes again or something? Maybe I'm doing bonus episodes again. What's up, everybody? Happy Friday. Happy end of week. Yeah, so we've been sick around this household for the past little bit. My son got sick last week. Not COVID, and not flu, just some weird funk that really was really sinus and head congestion and just really just feeling all in all crappy. But yeah, so long story short, my son's been sick. I got sick. It's been a tough week. I actually, it hit up on my asthma a little bit again too, that I didn't even have asthma since I was a kid, since I was 16. And I haven't even had an emergency inhaler in, over 30, 35 years. And, yeah, last summer, July, I got nailed with, what I thought I had COVID. I've told this before, but it's been a while. I thought I had COVID, and it was at the peak. July is when all the hospitals were full of 2020, and I still had to go in because, it got so bad. My blood O2 was at I hate to even tell you guys, but it got down to 80. So, I chose to not go to a hospital and to go to instant care instead. So I called the instant care and I told them, I don't know if it's COVID or what. At the time, again, folks, I didn't. But, so I was thinking, COVID, and then I thought, so I'm having a respiratory issue for sure. That's no doubt. But I was thinking that if it isn't COVID and I walk into an emergency room, I was 100% sure I was going to walk out of that emergency room with COVID if I even got to walk out. So I was very hesitant to go to the hotels or the hotel, the hospital. But what I did was call an instant, one of those urgent cares, and I said, I'm not sure what I have going on. I haven't been around anybody that I think I've been exposed to COVID, but I'm not sure. And I asked if they were busy, what, yada, yada. And they were fine. They said, come on in. And I went in there and they did some tests. They gave me a steroid shot and some other shots and kept me on because my blood O2 was so low, you're supposed to send people to the hospital when you're under that number. Because if you don't know people, you're supposed to have a blood O2 of 95 to 100. That's where everybody should be. And again, I hadn't had asthma in 35 plus years. I'm at 80. And when she first read the number, she hadn't told me that whole story that I just said about the 95 to 100. And so I thought, okay, well, that's not good, but 80 is a B minus. I instantly put it into grades. I don't know why. I'm like, well, it's B minus isn't bad. And I'm like, okay, so that's, it's not as bad. And she was like, well, low 70s is dead. So, so instantly my scale became skewed and I was like, what? So, anyway, long story short, this week when I did get sick, like my son did, it actually hit my asthma up again. So I actually had to go back on some medication that, it's singular. But I get a lot of the side effects when I have to take it, or when I did last year too. And I took it for a month and had to have the side effects, but my breathing got so bad that I had to get back on it this week. And, it's helping a lot. I'm not, knock wood, I'm not feeling any side effects yet. So hopefully, I don't, because even if I do, I'm gonna have to stay on this for a little bit. But now, jumping into things a little bit here, So the bonus episode this week is Mike Delivers is going to be on the podcast, and I'm going to bring him on here in just a second. But yeah, we're going to talk to him about, what he's doing in his Jersey market and just go over a few things. And that's about it. So stay tuned while, wait. What am I doing? I gotta do something here before that. Curry baby. So if you haven't signed up for Curry yet, do it in the show notes. My link's in there. And my sign up referral link is in the show notes. You can click it, you can sign up, and you will be paid some of the best pay out there in the gig realm. So I challenge anybody out there, any of my listeners, to go download Curry and run all the apps you want in your market. Now, here's the thing. Curry won't keep you busy all day long. However, it's a day gig. So there's going to be some little mixed messaging here. It's a day gig. So it happens in the day. A lot of stuff for me in the Denver market is all night with most gig. Obviously, some Instacart stuff like that, which I haven't tried, but I've done delivery and rideshare. All that kind of stuff usually happens at night. There's some work to be had in the day, but it's not the same. But regardless, even if it were the night pay or the day pay from any of the other gigs, what I will say is you can't stay job after job on hotshot runs on the Curry platform busy, but you don't even have to have it open, just on your device, and it will send you text through when ones are in your area. And here's the challenge. I challenge you to take any of those Curry runs and tell me that your time wasn't 2 to 4 times more than you would have made on any gig platform out there. And when I say 2 to 4 times, I'm just being careful because really I've been doing a lot of breakdowns from screenshots people have been sending me since Curry's been my sponsor. And it's more like 3 to 4, but I'm just saying 2 to 4 to be careful, but I'll actually kind of nudge that to the right people and say 3 to 4. So that's what you should be making on the Curry platform. So anyway, sign up for Curry. Also, Monday, we're going to have a Curry roundtable with a bunch of drivers from different markets, and it's going to be on next week's podcast. It's going to be a great little segment, or it's going to be a great whole piece is what I should say, on Curry from the eyes of drivers in different states, different cities, markets around the country. And I'm going to have about 4 or 5 of them on, and we're going to just talk about their markets and their experiences with the platform, and we're going to go from there. So make sure to check out next week's episode. That said, let's get Mike in here. So this week we have Mike Baselgleea. Did I get that right?
Yeah, you got it right. And don't feel bad. I say it wrong all the time.
Mike and I were just testing it out before we started.
All good.
From Mike Delivers podcast. And Mike, I want to thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. Looking forward to it. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I know that you're kind of like, it sounds like you're like me a lot. Like you have a lot of things going on. Like I work for a laser production company. We do all of Carnival Cruise Lines. We do all of Disney World. We do all of Toyota corporate. So we handle very big clients. But if you just listen to the 3 I just listed, that shut us down the entire pandemic. Because those
I can imagine. Yeah.
Walt Disney World, all of our accounts were closed.
Oh, for sure. So, no, unfortunately, yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's why I took the UberLiftDrivers.com website that's been around for years and took it to the podcast level. And I'm glad I did. I mean, now it's starting to come back a little bit, but it's been more for me just like programming at home because we do a lot of out of country shows and installations, and I just don't want to be doing world travel yet.
Totally.
I'm not there.
Hey, totally understand. I've said this before. Everybody's got their own feeling on where they are in the world. There's no right or wrong answer. If you feel like you want to, you don't want to, total respect for your feeling and where you are in your position. Completely understand.
Yeah. I mean, I'm back out in the world. I mean, I'm getting ready for snowboard season out here. It's my 31st year. Getting my Avalanche 2 certification and all kinds of other things. So it's awesome. I'm back in life. I just don't want to be going to other countries.
For sure.
I just feel like I'd land and something would have happened that day. And they'd be like, you need to go over there. No,
Yeah.
no,
No need for it.
no.
I completely understand the perspective and understanding. You don't need that anxiety in your brain. I get you.
So you do delivery on the app based on demand platforms, Uber Eats specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but you also do what other things are you doing that you juggle?
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of juggling, a lot of it. Uber Eats as a delivery driver, and that sort of started for me when I was working at CBS Sports Radio. I was producing their national morning show, and I would be getting up at like 3 a.m., but I'd be out of work around 11:30 to noon. I live in Bloomfield, New Jersey, which is probably like 30 minutes outside New York City. So in my area, there is a lot of food delivery going on. This was pre-pandemic. It's just a high volume of people, a lot of restaurants,
Right.
chains, good in the sense of not a chain, and a lot of like local authentic places. Anyway, so my wife was like, you need a second job. You're bored after you leave your first job. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. I put up a big stink about it. Then I did it, and I was like, I pretty much fell in love with it. My first order was to the IHOP a mile down the road. I was terrified. I was scared out of my mind, but I pulled it off, and I'm still proud of that. It's the only order where somebody called me back from the restaurant and said, you forgot strawberry compote. And I turned around and I got the strawberry compote. Only time that ever happened to me was the first damn delivery. But I was doing that and I fell in love with it. Did it more. Started a podcast, Mike Delivers, where I wanted to share my stories from the road, the wacky crap that happened to me while I was delivering. And then from there, it kind of sparked a wild story how I got into my current job, which is amazing at ABF Creative, where we are creating podcasts for a lot of wonderful companies and also for ourselves internally. And from there, my podcast, Mike Delivers, does food reviews with my wife. We talk about foods that that I've seen on deliveries. One time I went to an IHOP and at 10:30 in the morning, somebody ordered a tilapia and the mashed potatoes and corn. And I said, Jess, we got to try this. We have to try the tilapia. So we did a full review on some of the wacky things people were ordering. And I also do a basketball podcast called Bad Weather Fans. As a big Nets fan, rocking my Nets hat. My partner, who's a moron, likes the Knicks. And we kind of have some fun. So, and we got a baby. But besides, and my cat
That's not for
is
Denver,
behind me.
that's Detroit.
Okay. Is that, what is it? Is that for, is that
Red
Pistons?
It's the new Red Wings logo.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. See, I don't know hockey as well, so I apologize there. I don't want to embarrass myself and give you some dumb answers on that front. But yeah, that's it. That's what's going on. That's what I'm juggling.
All right. Yeah, I looked up your town. Population's about 55,000, right?
That sounds about right. Yeah, but there's so many. These towns are so close together in Jersey. It's like
50,000 town attached to another 50,000 town.
Yeah, like
So
Essex County, where I live and do deliveries, is almost the size of like Pittsburgh, to give in perspective. And that's just the county, this is the suburb of New York. So it's just big. There's just a lot of people and a lot of hungry people at all hours of the day. Like, I want to order food at 2 a.m. I want to order food at 4 p.m. We're just a really hungry population here in Jersey.
So even when the market's flooded, you're doing well.
Yes, but I will say, it's funny you say that. Like at first, when the Uber Eats delivery was started pre-pandemic, I loved Sunday. It was like, this was gravy day. Everybody was ordering. But what happened as things got busier and things changed, and that's a whole different conversation, is like Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday nights would make bank. Like weeknights, because there was less competition, kick some butt. I mean, it was like total dominance. And once you knew, like, took me a little bit of a rhythm, but once I figured out what I was doing, I got really good at it. But then on the weekends, I noticed, still lucrative, but everybody else would come out. So it was a little bit annoying. Not bad, but weekdays were just great.
Right. But now, because I talk to people all the time from all over the country. I know you probably talk to a lot too, different markets. And some of them, I talk to people who I know really do try their best. And because I always say it takes the right person too. I was a bartender for like 20 plus years. So, I mean, it just takes a service industry type to be able to do this type of work and not get frustrated.
Right.
Because even though you say you're making bank and stuff, there's some frustrating times, but you need to be able to roll through it. It's just some people are cut for the job. Some people aren't, but some markets are tougher than others. It sounds like yours is pretty fluent. Denver's pretty fluent.
Yeah.
So even when it's populated, you're busy.
Oh yeah. It was I mean, in the heat of the pandemic, it got really busy, like
Oh yeah, everywhere
unbelievable. Like
did.
your Uber Eats screen looked like it was just one big red storm coming in. And
Right.
then it kind of leveled off a little bit. And I think now, and what has happened is, like, for example, I think a lot of people didn't know how to use these platforms before the pandemic,
Sure.
but because of this, everybody in a lot of ways was forced to use it and learn it. Now, I think people are out and about, people are getting going to different places, but a lot of people are like, I don't ever want to go get my groceries again. I don't
Right.
want to on a Friday night go drive down to that restaurant where I have to double park and I know the cops watching me and I got a ticket that one time and that guy yelled at me and then I have stressed out about it. No, I'm just gonna pay somebody to do it. So I think there's kind of a leveling out of that where people are like, hey, this is great. I'm not gonna stop doing this. I like when I just can roll down in my underwear and go to my front door and pick up my food, go back inside, and nobody ever has to see my face, and I'll just be in my boxer shorts. This is great.
Yeah. No, I know. And a new thing here too is well, it's not that new, but it seems to be newly catching on is it's taken away a little bit from some Instacart people I know because a lot of people are doing we have a big 25 to like 40 uh age group here in Denver. That's
Mm.
we're kind of on the younger side of a big city. And a lot of people are moving to just picking their groceries up from King Supers or Safeway. You know what I mean? Like they're not using Instacart because they don't want those
Right.
fees. But literally, like
Mm.
if they're not getting like produce or vegetables or things like that,
Gotcha.
they're just if it's just cereal or boxed items and whatnot, they don't care who's touching them because they stocked them anyway, and there's no
Yeah.
fee on that. So you just drive around the back of any of the grocery stores, and they just give you the box loaded in.
Right. And then you get out of the house a little bit. You don't have to deal with all those fees. And I totally understand the fees. Like I
Right? Yeah.
personally,
I mean,
I'll
I think
always say,
that's why food
I,
delivery is where it's at. I think Instacart is a problematic thing on its own, but yeah, I just it's just crazy to me. And um, yeah, I mean the ride share is taking a beating. The food platforms are still doing well here.
mm,
Uh, it depends on how hard you work it though too. I noticed that with you, it's pretty interesting to me because I was scrolling through your episodes and you were just talking about it, but it was pretty cool because I was noticing that you guys were talking about foods and stuff just from the titles. And I listened to like probably about half of 3 episodes today. And I was going to get to the one where your dad interviewed you, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to waste that one before we talked because I figured that was just more of a fun one.
yeah, that was my dad who's wanting to learn more about podcasting and he has some ideas on his end. So we had this thought where he could interview me for a low stress, low pressure
Right.
situation where it's not like your first interviews with this guest that he's been trying to get and he's nervous and he's sweating and he's asking the wrong question, whatever. It's just me and him. We
Sure.
talk all the time. We have a great relationship and we can bust each other's balls, whatnot. So yeah,
I'm
he
actually,
interviews me about my career.
I just put that one on my list though, because I do want to hear
Great.
it. And, but I noticed, I was pretty surprised that like you started in summer of 2019. Is that about right?
Yep, that's right.
And so you have 212 episodes. I thought that was
Yep.
pretty. So I'm like, I started at the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, how is he at 212? Like I'm at 86, and I've been cranking about one a week. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the? And I noticed that when I was scrolling through them, I was trying to like find some kind of algorithm with the dates that you drop your podcast, but I don't think it works like that, right? You
Well, it
just
did.
drop them when you drop them.
I used to do it that way and I want to do it that way. And my producer has been yelling at me about that, my wife. And she's like, you have to have rhythm to it because when you don't do them on the other days, people get confused and they know that. I said, I know you're right. I have no other argument against you. You're right. I got to do better at that. But I originally did that and we would drop them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And how it started was every Tuesday you'd get an episode where I would tell my stories from the road. I would interview interesting people about their food delivery experience, or they'd come on my podcast and I would tell them my stories from the road and have them react to the stories as somebody that's not a delivery driver. And then on the Thursday episode, we would do our food reviews. And what happened in reality was like, we've got a kid, I've got another podcast, I've got a full-time job, I'm doing deliveries. It just became the point where it was a lot. So what we did though was we shifted our food delivery, our food review discussions to our fancy Patreon page. So that's where, and for if people aren't familiar with Patreon, it is behind a paywall. But if you want to go Mike Delivers and get that content, it is now on the Patreon side. But it was just a way where to still keep everything we were doing because I've had the Patreon page for a couple of years, so we were doing 3 episodes a week, and it just got to the point Pre-baby during the pandemic, totally doable. Post-pandemic with a baby, not doable. That was kind of the gist of it.
Absolutely. I've been actually Jason Thierry. I know we both know
Sure.
Jason, and I know he's always bugging me. He's always saying, "Get your Patreon up, get your Patreon up." And I have had, like you have had one for a long time, but I have not built it out.
Right.
I need to get in there and really like take the time, but it's one of those things, man. Like now we're out of the pandemic and I got tons of stuff going on. I got a teenager that lives here 5 days a week.
Maybe you guys could do a Patreon together. That could be interesting. Would that?
Well, I think the Patreon is going to be for the podcast.
Right. Well, it's just the added content.
He's gonna have to be my help with Discord.
Yes,
because I'm disconnected from Discord. I don't even, when I look at it, I don't understand it. And he games with his friends on it, so I'm hoping that he's going to be my.
Well, if he teaches you, then you can send him my way. Because I've looked at let me type in Discord on YouTube, and then I watch it for 3 minutes, and I go, let me stop watching Discord on YouTube because I don't know what the bleep I'm reading or looking at.
Yeah,
I'm sure once you get it, you get it. But it does seem kind of tricky. But it does seem like something that's really helped podcasters, gamers, and a lot of other.
I was going to say I don't know what it is because all of his friends game on the platform, and I think I finally figured it out. I think that it's people in our industry who game too, because you can listen to a podcast or to music or whatever on Discord in a stream and minimize the window.
Oh, cool!
And game, so you can be watching the little podcast window. Player and be gaming at the same time, be watching the podcast.
That's so crazy, man. Because I have I have a 13-month-old, and I'm like, he's going to be so much smarter than me with all of this, and I know I'll be going to him for advice. It's awesome. It's just really cool to hear, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, like I get Twitch, I get YouTube, I get all the rest. I'm still building out those, but our podcast is just absolutely blown up. The website helps too, but yeah, so I mean, I don't know. It seems like you dropped a lot of podcasts though.
Yes,
and I don't know. It was I definitely want to keep going through them because I love the way you guys talk about food. You and your wife.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean it is really cool, man. I don't see it. I have not. I've really encountered most of the podcasts out there in the gig realm, and it seems like you guys have a niche there that nobody else has.
Yeah,
it's almost like you're reviewing the food too. It's pretty cool. At first, I was like, what? Wait a minute. But then it was really cool. I was getting into this and I started actually getting hungry and
No, I get it. And it's really evolved because when I first started doing the podcast, it was called Basketball Drives. And my idea was I wanted to talk about my food deliveries and basketball. And then I got 3 months into the podcast, maybe episode 30 something. And I just said to myself, I don't really want to talk basketball anymore. I just want to talk about food delivery. So I rebranded, did a new logo, called the podcast Mike Delivers. And from episodes 34 to episodes 190, there's just a ton of my stories from the road and all the wacky crap that's happened. And I'll be driving on the road and then I'll do the drop off and I'll you get your phone, you get your notes pad out and I'll write in guy came out in underwear, was wearing my underwear. That was weird. Did not tip me, just taking all these notes. Because I found too, if you don't take the notes, you'll forget because everything kind of becomes the same. But yeah, that was kind of it. And I was like, I'm going to talk about it.
Right, but that's something that I feel like a lot of the podcasters are doing out there for the delivery space is doing those kind of things. What you guys are doing now seems to be pretty cool and unique. I don't know if my podcast is evolving. I'm sure yours is too. I mean.
And I think
not just changing, but evolving,
and I think that's important. It's and it's something that I had to grasp with, and at first was frustrated with and was embarrassed with in a lot of ways. And then I realized, you evolve as a person, you change. If stuff in your life's different than it was from when you first started, don't hide it, accept it, embrace it. And I think people that are listening will love and appreciate your honesty and just say, hey, this is where I am in my life. This is how I started things. It doesn't mean this is worse or better. It just evolved, and I'm going to make sure to transform that into content for the listener. So I'm totally about that.
Yeah, right on. So, okay, out of just the generic restaurants that people can relate to, what are your favorite two? What are your worst two? that you hate
As
delivering
in
to? and
eating
that
or
you-
delivering?
Delivering, not anything to do with the food, just ones
the-
that you don't mind popping them out. And it not based
So
on
I
the tip either, just working with the restaurant and the speed and
Totally.
efficiency.
I love this question. I'm all about this question. Let me start with the ones I dislike because it just jumped in my brain and I'm gonna be negative.
McDonald's doesn't count. Leave it out.
Oh, McDonald's. See, I could do a thing on McDonald's. We want to talk McDonald's Bloomfield. Okay. McDonald's East Orange, super awesome. McDonald's West Orange, unbelievable. There's all these oranges in New Jersey, by the way. I'm not just making these things up. It depends on the McDonald's you're at. But
Sure.
Let me start with the one that I've never seen to be so bad at anything of all time, and that's Chipotle. I don't know how they get so bad at this, and I have a couple theories. But one was when I've gone in there, they've talked about how they keep their system. And I think this is a regional thing because I've talked to other people that are like, Chipotle is great. I'm like, Chipotle is great. That's impossible. I've talked.
Ours is horrible too.
Okay. Well,
I'm gonna relate to you on this one for sure. I want to hear what you have to say.
So I have this idea. They were doing things on time blocks where it was like you pick, like if you were a customer just putting in your own order to pick it up, it'll be right. You pick 8:15, 8:30, 8:45. And I think that's what they had done with the Uber Eats deliveries. Because I would go, now I'm just getting angry. I would go in there and I'd be like, I have a pickup for John, code X2649er. And they'd be like, what time is the pickup for that? I go, I don't know. I'm the delivery. It just took me here. I literally had a phone tell me where to go. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't even know how to follow directions anymore in my brain. This phone is telling me everything to do. Is that an 8:15 or an 8:30? Never ready. Okay, never ready. And then I think Chipotle just said, we don't know what we're doing. Let's leave the food out. And they would just leave it on a table. And it was a free-for-all where you come in there and pick up the Chipotle. I mean, I've said this on my podcast. If you're listening, you want free dinner, go to the Chipotle in West Orange, New Jersey, walk in and take the bag. There is nobody stopping you. Now, granted, I don't know if you have allergies or there's things you like and don't like. Well, you know what? You could probably go in there and read the order and pick what you want. Like it's a free for all. So I hate that one with a passion. With a passion. I don't even think there's a second one. The ones I love is a local is a chain called Jersey Mike's in this area, and it's like a sandwich sub shop.
We have
always ready, always prepared, super friendly. Everybody is awesome there. I don't care which Jersey Mike's I go to. I love it. So I would say number one on the good side of things is Jersey Mike. On the bad side of things is the Chipotle, especially the one in West Orange. But I'm not cutting you slack, Clifton. You know you suck too, Clifton. So yeah, not that I've thought about this for the last 2 years.
Our Chipotle was the same way when the pandemic started. There was like they brought out like one of the back kitchen racks, like those wire ones. They pushed it up to the front door, and then they just put all the bags on it.
Exactly.
So you'd walk
I know
in,
you're talking about
they
those
didn't
racks.
even look at you. They'd be back behind the counter. And like you said, you could just go in there and grab like 3 bags if you wanted. I mean,
you can do it at Panera too, by the way. Our Panera, if you want a free meal, you have to sign in. So I'm like, yeah, this is great. You come, you sign in. You just like, first of all, nobody can read anybody's signature. Then you have to leave your number, and it's like, I mean, oh yeah,
now
so
they've
we
gone
leave this
to
piece of paper, we'll stop somebody.
Counter, though. Now they're back behind the counter again.
They are back behind the counter.
Yeah, the same one that I'm talking about. Like I think they were like, we're past the pandemic. We might be in a different state of post-pandemic than you are. I'm not sure where Jersey is.
We're doing great as far as like our numbers are concerned. They're pretty low.
No, I mean like in terms of like masking and all that kind of, like we're done. Everybody's kind of like, do you? I'll do me.
Yeah.
Let's all just hang out.
Right. Yeah. There's it's a combination of things. It's a combination.
I mean, you guys aren't New York, right? That's what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah. No, I think we're in a good place. And I think it's because people have done a good job to get us there. I'll say that. And yeah, there's still people wearing masks, people not wearing masks. It's just, it just all depends on where you are and whatnot. Yeah, but I would say for the most part, it feels like normal life. It feels like we're getting back towards normal life with a hint of not normalcy all over the place.
Right. Of course. Well, there's a lot of, we won't even go into the things outside of the norm that are going wrong too, but, okay. So here's so I'm going to ask you, are you familiar with California's AB5 being independent contractors like you and I, as opposed to being employees of the company?
I used to know it. It sounds very familiar, but if you want to give context, I won't say no. So then when you ask the question, I can not
so
sound like
AB5
me.
was passed into law by Governor Newsom and Vina Duval, who I had on the podcast just a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, she doesn't do any podcasts, but AB5 is not my law. So Vina and I see that workers need transparency. Gig platform workers need full transparency. They should have it. But we don't see eye to eye on how to get there. She's all about the unions and being the employee model. I'm about, no, I need flexibility. I have too many jobs.
Right.
So I mean, like, without that flexibility, it's over for me. You take the flex out and make me some kind of employee or franchisee or something.
So can I just ask you, you're saying like in that flexibility would be, you have to work 8 to 3 Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and you don't get to choose.
It would depend.
Hours?
I mean, it would depend. They can. So right now the law passed, and then they passed Prop 22 in California, which overrode it for the gig workers, but left a lot of other people screwed, like traditional musicians, writers for newspapers and stuff, where they could only do like 30 articles a year if you write for newspapers and live in California, or you could only do this. And they had to carve out anesthesiologists. It's just been a big mess. But here's the bottom line: here's the latest thing that's just killing me. And so I wanted to bring it up tonight. So AB5 is a law, and it didn't. Prop 22, the gig companies put in $200 million to fight it in California alone. Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, Instacart. But what is really killing me right now is that, I don't know if you're familiar. I'm sure you're familiar with what's going on down at the ports in California and getting our supply chain back in order. So the ports are union run. So now that AB5 is passed and they didn't get an exemption, the truckers who are independent contractors and own their trucks, fleet, whatever it is, are not allowed to go there and work. Now we have California CDL drivers who are twice as fast as the union CDL drivers, and there's about twice as many of them. If they were allowed to go down to the ports, it's estimated that it would be 3 times quicker to have our supply chain restocked, and they're not changing that law. They're not even going to amend it temporarily. And right now we're looking at our supply chain being about a year out before we're restocked. So I don't know that, you're an independent contractor too, but I'm asking you this because it's coming to your neck of the woods. And actually, Massachusetts has it on the H bill for next year to pass it there. And then New Jersey, and Washington State are also looking at the model from AB5, which was a fail, to do it in your state. And what it would do is it would require you to be a W-2 employee of everything you worked for, everything. And for me, that wouldn't work. I live in Colorado. For me, if it comes here, that wouldn't work. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, I mean, to answer if I could or couldn't do it, I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. And how
I was just wondering if it was going to affect your other work too. I don't know.
It would not impact me, but I would say, just top of my head, but I would say just changing people's or limiting people's ability to have the flexibility, that would bother me a lot. Yeah, and I can totally sympathize and understand losing that control for yourself. And what has made this gig economy work so well for a lot of people is that they are independent contractors that work on their time, that work on their hours, that can be flexible based around other jobs that they have and not have to worry about an employer saying, hey, you're with us, you can't have that second job. Because I know there's a lot of people that do it full time, but like myself, there's a lot of people also that were like, I need to scratch some more money together. Ultimately I'm talking about the podcast, but it started from, and I said the story in the beginning, I needed a second job, and it was perfect because at CBS Sports Radio, I'm producing a morning show. I have the flexibility when that's done to do something. But for example, if my job then called for me and I had to do something that was required, basically once I finished the delivery, I could get back and make those necessary adjustments for my other job. Unlike if I was working somewhere where I had strict hours and I was kind of stuck, that wouldn't have been as good for me. But I loved the flexibility. So I think taking flexibility away from people
Yeah.
is a dangerous thing to do, because what makes this job in a lot of ways from a secondary job standpoint is how much flexibility you have, and losing that would be devastating.
Absolutely. And I've stepped outside of the app-based gig world and actually interviewed people. Like I interviewed a lady that owned a nonprofit opera house in LA for 30 years, had to close her doors because of AB5. She's a 501c3 nonprofit. There's no reason that can't happen.
Yeah. That's rough.
But she can't, she would have to make every person in the opera an employee for these limited shows and engagements at different venues.
That's rough.
And yeah, I mean, it's just these truckers have these parked $500,000-$600,000 trucks that they can't use because they're not allowed to. You got to be union now. So I don't know. It's really a worry of mine, because it's the same thing that they're trying to push through with this PRO Act and stuff too. And it's been a passion project, and I'm glad to see that's not happening right now. But
for sure.
So like my sponsor right now is Curry. I know that we just saw what was it? The one that FedEx bought, Roadie. The Roadie app was bought by FedEx. Do you think that these days, when you see, I don't know if you see a lot of them in your area, and I know you just work Uber Eats, but I'm sure you're somewhat got your finger on the pulse. Do you think gig companies even start up with the ambition of really trying to get into the market and stay in it? Or do you think that they're doing it just to sell out?
I've never been asked that. That's a really interesting question. I
because
think
the reason I'm asking is because we see a lot of them selling out. And so I'm just wondering, are
like
some people like
out
now
to
getting the idea like, hey, if we've got a little bit different of something and we do it and we get it patented, Uber will buy us? Or
wow, that I would say I think it's so difficult now to get to that level that it's probably, and also too, like if I don't know how much they're being bought for, but if somebody said, hey, here's $10 million here, what, I don't know, maybe that's an extreme amount, but like, we're going to buy you out and then you're gone. I don't know at this point how anybody could get to those levels, because how much it would take to get there. I mean, these are the big boys and they control it, and they have a lot of control that hurts a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And when I say hurt, when you say, hey, this is the delivery fee, it's like, well, what are you going to do about it? This is the only place where you can get this food delivered. Tough luck. I really at this point see if you can get bought out for a nice chunk of change. I think that's the way it'll go. Maybe something sneaks through and I'm wrong, but I would say, yeah, it's, hey, we love your idea. We love what you've been doing. Here's a couple $100K, go away.
Right. And for the most part, I'm talking about the smaller fish that you really have to have a good idea, because otherwise they're not even going to buy you anyway. They're just going to push you under.
Right. They know you don't have a chance.
You don't have their database of clients. You don't have anything. And you're going to go try and start up in markets. But like, look at Drizzly. Drizzly sold out to Uber for $1.1 billion.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
That's a lot of money. And they started with a $70,000 investment in 2012.
Crazy.
So a 9-year investment to go from $70,000 to $1.1 billion.
I would say in a lot of ways, hearing stuff like that is inspiring too, because I know from me personally, the amount of projects, and I don't, this is all my passion stuff, but to hear that you can make it, I think it is super cool. And I don't know the backstory. And if someone's listening to this podcast going like, Mike, I don't know. I'm sorry. On the surface, the American dream to me is I got an idea. Right. I'm going to make a ton of money on it, and I'm going to help other people. Like,
see, I used to be of the mindset. I've been in the gig economy, the app-based one here in Denver since like 2014. So, and I was doing rideshare forever, but I was of the opinion where like there were companies starting up in Austin and LA and all these littler rideshares that did have a fighting chance of maybe hitting some markets. And slowly they just started selling out. But there was a time when they were all fighting it off. Like, no, screw you, Uber. We don't want anything to do with you. We'll just keep working this. But I feel like that model or that hope is starting to fade. But I also feel like more gig companies are starting to step up and start. And I feel like it's maybe a lot of times it's just like, we got an idea. Let's make it. Let's show that it works and let's sell the company.
Now, all I'm doing right now is while you're talking and I'm listening is my brain is going, what can I think of that's really good with delivery that could be bought out? So yeah, I'd be one of those people. It sounds like I don't have any.
You even said Jersey Mike's. Like, I don't know. Here, our Jersey Mike's has delivery.
Yours does not have. What you're saying?
No, it does. It does with Jersey Mike cars.
Yeah, here it does not. So that might be a local thing. I mean, okay. I have thought, and see, to me, this is my brain, and this is what I have thought. My $1 million idea is, to me think I could be a consultant for people or for the companies in the area, because I know which restaurants run well, which ones don't, why they do, the issues, what's going on with employees, why they take long, why delivery drivers are canceling, why this McDonald's good, why that McDonald's doesn't work, why putting the pickup in this location worked, by putting it in that location didn't work. I mean, I could just do a full breakdown like we're doing March Madness, looking at the seeds and telling you why this McDonald's is far superior than the Burger King over here, etc. Oh, at 8:00 you can't come in the building. Everything's delivery. Nobody's then going to go to that McDonald's because nobody wants to wait in a 30-minute line to get somebody food. So it's going to be canceled. Meanwhile, the McDonald's at the other location allows you to go in. People are going to get their food. All these little nuances. Maybe McDonald's doesn't care. I don't know. But that's where I was like, I could write a book on all the restaurants in this area, what they do well and don't do well, how they could get better, and ways they can improve.
How many deliveries have you done?
I've done almost 3,000.
All right,
almost 3,000. But I've been stuck for a little bit. But yeah, I was at a nice streak, and I wanted to do like a big celebration for Delivery 1000, and then the pandemic hit, so I was kind of bummed out.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's see. I was really hoping you had worked some DoorDash, and I forgot to even ask you that.
I've signed up for DoorDash, and I want to do DoorDash, and I'm scared. I'm so conditioned to know the Uber Eats app. I have not done it, but I know everybody has said like you got to get on it, because what if something happens, not your like whatever, where you get deactivated, even if it was, I'm doing my job right, but who knows? You have to have backups, and And I do understand if I was doing this more full time, I would probably have multiple apps running, because I know that, hey, I can't rely on just one app, but because in this area, Uber Eats is really good, I've kind of just stuck with it. And then I've been too scared to try dip my toe in the DoorDash world.
I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right. I'm like, the DoorDash are good. I know how to do it.
But at the same time, there's some rhyme and reason behind have all the platforms behind you.
I agree.
In case I agree. On one.
I agree. I know it would be the right thing to do. I know it's my problem, and I'm not going to come on here and be like, you should only do one. It's the way to go. This is how you got to do it, kids.
I also don't. But see, I also hear some people say, sign up for all of them right now. And I'm like, dude, why would you do that? Because as you sign up for each one, there's a bonus to be had in that if you can do a certain amount of things in a certain amount of time, usually.
Right.
So you go and you pick the best one that's going on at the time. If you're looking for a new app and you work that one and get the bonus, put that under your belt. But you wouldn't sign up for all of them and then get none of the bonuses. That'd be stupid.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of doing food delivery was, and I'll say this with the bonuses, like I had a job that was salaried, and good or bad, I mean, I want to do good. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not going to work, hey, let's screw up today, Mike. But if you had a bad day or you had a great day, it didn't impact your salary. And I got to a place at a point where this is what I was making. So when I got to do it, when I started doing Uber, it was really for me intoxicating, where it was like, just one more hour, Mike. And I got addicted to that part of it, where what you put in is what you would get out. Obviously, a lot of variables on the road with what's happening with the restaurants. But if you're motivated and you know what you're doing, I was like, this is cool. Like on a couple, like I'm free, and then I got the weekends, I can make another $500, and it's all on my shoulders. And I was like, this is great. I got so into it.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if I should. So I'm gonna hit on just two more things real quick.
Yeah.
and then we'll sum it up for the night.
Cool.
Yeah, because I know my son's been sick. I know you got things going on too. But today, so here's something for you too. Today, Waymo launched cars that are delivering food in South LA. Autonomous cars, no driver, not even the driver that's supposed to be in there, just in case, because there's
Just
no
in
passengers.
Case. Right.
Well, like when Uber did it in Pittsburgh, or when they did it in Arizona, they killed people.
Crazy.
And they got sued, and there were people in there who were supposed to hit the brakes if the car was doing something wrong or whatever. They had stop mechanisms. And like I remember the one in Arizona was some lady was texting that was sitting up there.
Oh my God.
Lady. She was texting. She killed a biker that was crossing the road, and the LiDAR systems on these autonomous cars can't in the night they don't catch people or animals well. They also don't work in the snow, like really weird things. But so it was coming, and it hit the lady. And in the end, the lady ends up getting sued, and Uber didn't even back her. She was being paid like $25 an hour. And she's the one now facing this manslaughter charge. And
that's all. Oh, this whole story is,
it's just awful. So at least they went to this other thing. And I always said, go build a city in the desert somewhere and run your autonomous cars down there till you get it right. Cause you don't have it right.
Yeah. You can't.
I mean, we're 30, 40 years out from true autonomous. So to be like doing them live in Los Angeles is just, I mean, if I lived in Los Angeles, I'd go jump in front of one right now because Waymo has a ton of money and I'd sue them for all of it.
Oh my goodness gracious. I don't know how that works. I mean, I can
well, this is the first
people
day.
Barely drive cars well,
waiting.
so I can't.
I'm waiting if by Friday it says, oh, that's over.
Yeah, let's just play the hypothetical game, and it's like it worked. Here's your food. Does the car then turn into a delivery person? Like, is it like a transformer that turns into a person and like walks to the door, or the person has to come in and open the door?
No, but they don't even have back doors. They've got like the trunks, so it'll say what number trunk you are. So like there's like 1, 2, 3, and then on the other side 4, 5, 6, and so it'll say you're number 2, and you just come up and it'll unlock 2 when it's at yours, and you push a button and it opens.
So it's not like you go over there, you go to the trunk and you're like, yeah, I ordered McDonald's, but it looks like somebody else in this trunk got a nice steak.
Right.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go switch what I'm having for dinner tonight, and good luck to whoever's going to have mine.
Yeah, I don't know. So that's just, I wanted to put it on your radar too, because I think it's pretty interesting that they're doing that, because I think it's way out of line. So here's the last thing, because Hannibal from Brooklyn, I don't know if you know Hannibal is Hungry, but I had him on last week, and he had a guy from Denver on this week on his podcast that said he's doing this challenge for November. But I just saw they're doing it in New Zealand too, where it's like, can you make $2,500 a week, $10,000 a month for November? And they're putting the challenge out there to anybody. And if you hit it, you get like an extra $2,000 bonus.
Wow.
What would it take you to hit 2,500 a week? What would you have to do in your market?
Let me just kind of do some mental math real quick, and I can put
like if you didn't have another job, if you had the whole
week I feel you. If I did this full time, if I just did this all day, all the time, no hour cap.
Yep.
300 times 20. I could definitely. That'd be tight. That'd be really close. It'd be.
How many hours would you have to put in?
I would probably have to put in 80
to do 2,500.
Yeah, probably 80. I would think to get that done.
Again,
maybe a little less.
If you didn't have another job, so you could pick the prime times too. And
70 hours. I think 70 hours. That's a lot of radio. Yeah, I could do 70 hours in my car. I think I could get it done. I had on my podcast a year plus now a guy named Sam Lyons who did this in Oregon, I believe, in Portland, where he was able to hit a crazy amount. I can't remember the details now, but he did do something like this. But you do have to be careful too. Like if you're doing this many hours and it's like you're on the road for the 70th hour and it's 3 a.m. and you're driving around trying to deliver somebody some tacos at night and you're just like, oh, wake up. So you would have to be careful, but with a lot of coffee, with a lot of soda, places to go to the potty. Yeah, I think 70 hours I could get it done. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So
I'm full of myself, but yeah.
So 70, 140, 280. So 280 hours in a month would earn you 10 grand.
Yeah. Let's see. If you did that for a year, that'd be 120,000. You'd have no life.
That's kind of where this whole article was going to is, can you make 120,000? The proof would be start in November and see in this November challenge.
It's not doable to do for a year.
Well, no, but the one thing about the challenge that's cool is that they give you the extra 2K. What I don't like though,
right,
is that they're pushing for people to, like you were just saying, to push themselves to a limit where they're going to get so burnt out. Right. Even like you said, coffee, this, that, the other, it doesn't fix when you're that tired.
Right. You hit a max, you're just,
I mean, there are times you just better get off the road. And if you're trying to hit that, you're going to get in an accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Or something's going to go wrong. It just is.
Mm-hmm. Gotta be smart.
So, all right, Mike, give us the plugs on your stuff and I'll put them in the show notes as well.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you having me on. I really enjoyed our conversation. Absolutely. You enlightened me on a lot of different things I didn't know about. I love talking food delivery. I love talking food. I'm really into it. So thank you for the platform to come on here and talk about it. It's the Mike Delivers podcast. I put it out weekly with I put it out weekly personally. Right now, what I'm doing is talking to different people about food delivery and using those experiences from people to dive into their life and kind of using like food delivery. This is where the podcast is right now. We talked about evolving food delivery as the vehicle, pun intended, to get more information about people, share stories of their life, but use food delivery as the questions to get there. Then if you want to go to our Patreon page at Mike Delivers Pod, my wife and I do food reviews, and I've also got a basketball podcast called Bad Weather Fans. If you're into hoops, my buddy and I just yell at each other and have a really nice time doing it. And I'm going to be yelling at him later tonight. I can't wait.
In your you do it on Wednesday nights?
We do it based on our basketball schedules of games, so it's all over the place, and that's so it kind of depends.
So in your show notes though are links to in
the show notes on Twitter at Mike Delivers Pod, on Instagram as well. Find all those goodies and get more of my adventures from the road.
Well, that's your Patreon link too, isn't all? I think I saw it in your show too.
Yeah,
your show
go
notes.
over there, people. Help me buy diapers. Help me buy diapers and help feed my kitty cat is behind me.
That's
Leon.
right.
I love Leon.
All right, Mike. Well, thanks for coming on, and
yes, sir.
Thanks for helping me juggle this together all kind of last minute here.
All
it's been a rough week around our house too. So
no, it's all good. I'm in the podcast world. I have got my mics. I have all these different mics around the different house. I'm unplugging things so there's no noise in the background. So all the love, appreciate that anytime. Happy to do it again. Really enjoyed it.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Cool. Thank you.
Peace. So, wow, I forgot that Mike was super busy. We had to juggle. I was sick. He had his kid and another podcast for basketball going on that night. And we had rescheduled already from a couple days previous when I was really sick. And so then we got a little confused on the time. The whole thing was, luckily it was Mike, who's super fun and easygoing, and we were able to pull this off. But I was just listening to the podcast as I'm sitting here editing it. I went through the whole thing and I'm like, whoa, man, we didn't follow the flow sheet much. I remember my head was just thumping when I was doing this, and I was wondering, like, is this even going to be able to put out? And luckily it was. I mean, I was just listening to it and I was like, okay, well, I mean, it isn't like super fine tuned like I like it to be, but it still hit on some points. We talked about some things. I already think, by the way, guys, that was recorded on Wednesday, and I heard it's Friday now, and I already think that the Waymo thing has been shut down in LA. We have an article up on Uber Lyft drivers you can check out. Also, again, folks, Curry, and next week on the podcast, Curry, see the show notes, sign up for Curry. Listen next week. If you aren't sure and you haven't signed up yet, listen next week to other drivers in 5 different markets, 5 different cities in different time zones around the U.S. as I ask them questions, the good, the bad, and the ugly about Curry, and let's see what we come up with here. And I think you guys are going to hear a lot of good things. You're going to love it. Also, Jason, Thierry, and I do our live radio call-in show on Friday nights on tncradio.live. That's Trucker Radio Network Houston, and they kind of serve a nationwide need for weather. Trucker information is always dropped during all the shows, but we're the only rideshare show on there. the Rideshare Nation, that we have a show where it's calling. You guys can call in. And it's 4 to 6 PST, and it's 7 to 9 EST, and you can figure out the in-betweens. Check us out, tncradio.live. And yeah, you can call in, everything. It's a lot of fun. This week, Jason won't be there. And so he'll be back next week, and then he'll be there for the rest of the year with us, and we'll be seeing like what we get done with that. It's just our 4th week this week, so we're getting going. But give us a shout if you want to call in. That said, also check out Gig Economy Podcast, guys. Jason's podcast, really good one out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, and yeah, he drops every other Wednesday, or they do it every other Wednesday live. And this last Wednesday was one, so 2 weeks from now. But then the following Monday after the Wednesday is when he drops the podcast, if that's not confusing. Otherwise, you can find all the info on his show by just looking up Gig Economy Podcast in any app, any podcast app. So call in tonight maybe if you want to. Check it out. If you even get this in time, this is going to drop. By the time this drops, it'll probably be already started. So by the time you'd get to this point, it might be over. But hopefully by next week, we're really ready to take on some calls. We're going to have a couple people call in tonight. So if you do happen to catch it and you want to call in, please do. I know I'm thinking, I know one of the people, and I know that I can say this because it's not a maybe. He said he would. So I think I'm counting on him. Is that Mr. Flex from Jersey? Speaking of Jersey, this is a whole Jersey day, I guess, with Mike on, and now Flex is going to shout out and come on, because I know he's been down from YouTube for a little bit because of his vehicle, but we're gonna have him on tonight. I'm gonna ask him, where he's at with all that and how things are going, and yeah, that's it, guys. That's the week, and I'm just glad I was able to pull this off. So go out there and spin some good into this crazy world, and catch us next week as we drop the Curry episode that is going to be awesome. And if you're not signed up, or if you are and haven't started using it yet, this is what's going to launch you to do it. So tune in. We'll see you back here next week on Rodeo. Peace.